Tonight on RCVTV, we're going to be taking a look at the Subox mini kit from Kanger. All right, guys, here we have our up-close view of the Subox mini starter kit from Kanger Tech. We're going to crack this guy open and see what she comes with. First up, you have your user manual, which goes through all the basics of the device, airflow control, types of coils, all that jazz. It would also refer to the rebuild deck in there, so if you are going to try building this guy on your own, that can be an invaluable piece of information. Then we have our authenticity checker here, so if you want to make sure you have a legit product, we also have that. Now this is a pretty interesting little piece of included information. This is a VG-PG ratio and recommended wattages on the different coils. So if you're absolutely unsure of, your high VG juice, what should I be running it at, this will give you an idea of what Kanger recommends. So that is also awesome to have. Then we have the body of our housing, our mod housing. No battery included with this guy. A tank as well. And then there are some extras underneath the tray. So let's just set these up front here and pull this little tray out. So here we have our charging cord, which would plug in on the front of this device to charge your single 18650. We'll show you the mod closer up in a second. Then we have a spare coil, a 1.2 ohm coil. It actually has written right on the coil what it's good for, or recommended anyways. It would be a 10 to 26 watt coil. In my kind of travels, I have found I don't like pushing it much higher than 20, or else it does tend to get a little toasty, but personal preference, that's up to you guys. We also have our rebuild coil right here. So this is for you rebuilders out there. It does come with a coil pre-mounted, but we unscrew this little cap. There we are. So there's, can you see that in there? Yeah, there's a little coil. So we would just need to get some wicking material in there, which they've included in the box, and then we can start rocking with our RBA deck. If you want a little bit more information on building, that will be something we cover in future, at which point we'll add the description to the link below. Then they have also given you a couple spare coils for the rebuild deck, a couple spare screws, another drip tip, and your tool to mount your coils. All right, let's fire that back in here and we'll get some juice in this bad boy. But first things first, we need our battery. So as I mentioned earlier, 18650 plugs in the back here, just a magnet held shield. Your positive end goes to the bottom on this device, but the spring-loaded pin is at the top. So take your negative end, your not insulated bit, and slide that upwards first, and it just pops into place. Then you can pop your shield back on as well. All right, we got our battery installed here. As with many devices, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 clicks will power it up. We have our little Kanger Tech logo for a moment there, and then it does default to 50 watts when you first boot it up. So make sure you turn that bad boy down, especially if it's a fresh coil. You don't want to cook that off right away. So we're going to bring it down to about 30 watts here for when we get our tank primed up and ready to go. I'll show you that in a moment. I should mention here, there we are. So ready to rock at 30. I should mention on the tank, the coil that comes installed is a 0.5 ohm coil. So this coil can handle quite a bit more heat than that bonus one that came in the box there. It is good to 60 watts. However, your mod is only going to do 50. So you can run it maxed out. I wouldn't recommend it right off the hop. But anything from really the 30 watt low range upwards to 60 on this coil, if you put it on a different device, is fine. Now for filling, we unscrew the bottom cap here. You'll see this coil is quite a bit different than most. It's square. That's a Kanger Tech thing, but they work pretty well. So you unscrew it just like you would any coil, lefty loosey, righty tighty, just finger tight when you're putting it in there. If you over tighten these guys, you can run into problems. Try not to do that. And if we look at the actual chamber or juice well in there, it is quite large, quite easy to fill. Now, if we look at the chimney, there is a line on there as well, some silver stainless and some white. A good kind of rule of thumb is to fill up to that line so it doesn't overfill when you put it back together. We'll show you that here with, from the signature line at RCV, some Pineapple Express, one of my favorites. Give it a little shake here. Now, first things first, we're going to prime that coil. On this guy, I like to get a drop around the entire outer edge of that cotton in there. So I go 1 drop, 2 drops, 3, 4, and 5 drops. Then I like to put a fair sized drop onto there and there to get wicking going. So that coil should be ready to rock in a moment here. Now for filling, I angle it a little bit just so you guys can see it mainly. And then we'll tilt it out. Got a bit room for a bit more there where we're right up to that line. If I tilt it too much, it might pour out there, but there we are, just up to that line. Then we take our coil, mount her back in there, again, just finger tight. And down at the bottom, we have our airflow control. Now that is set to a quite restrictive draw at the moment, but it just spins over. There's an even tighter draw if that's what you're after. And finally, wide open. Where's wide open? There's wide open. We're going to hit it on that today. All right, give us a moment to flip back up to the top here, and we'll show you how she vapes. All right, guys, well, there we have our look at the Kanger Tech Subox Mini. One thing I forgot to show you up close is actually putting the tank onto the mod. Very simple, like your standard mods. You just screw it into the 510 pin. Screws right in, just finger tight again. And as before, we have it set to 30 watts. We're going to take a quick pull off of it, show you how she vapes. Quite a bit of vapor production on this little guy. So yeah, for people starting out with this, it is more of a direct lung type of hit on this guy. If you're using the 0.5 ohm coil, it would work well for someone who wants the more cigarette-like mouth to lung experience. But if you're going to do that, you do need to use the 1.2 or the 1.5 ohm coil as an option. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. And as always,
subscribe to the channel, like the videos.
Follow us on Instagram and Twitter.
Like us on Facebook, and until next time,
Make smart choices.